Most of the books settled in Kashmir are around same story. I have read several books on Kashmir where the background was of the Kashmir or the story was from the Kashmir background, and there are same elements you can find in all those books. Like there is a colonel, mayor, captain, an army person on a very higher role who is kind of torturing the locals. And then there is a local boy who is becoming or joining the resistance or some Tehreek Tanzim or any group, and there will be a political leader who is trying to use all of these situation to become a leader or to become a better position in the government agency. And yes, and there will be several old people, and they will be telling their stories that how the thing that is happening in Kashmir is actually happening from hundreds of years. Hence, there will be a girl who the protagonist will like, but they will not be together, but the person will join some brotherhood or Tehreek or group resistance terrorism, and then the girl will realize that the boy is already left. So all these elements, all these things actually happens in every other Kashmiri, and the same thing happens in the book that I recently read. The name of the book is The Plague Upon Us, and this is the book from Shabir Ahmad Mir. It has won several awards. It is published by Hachette India in, I guess, 2020 or 21. So the book in this book, the writer has told the story of four or five people, and each time the story is told from the different uh, perspective of a character. So let's say there are five or six characters. For example, there is Obed, and then Savia, Tufail, Momina, and yeah, Muzaffar. These characters are there, and then they will be telling the stories from their own side. It is like the structure of the book is taken from the 100 or 1000 midnight stories where the girl tells the story to the king. Here a boy is telling the story to a monster, so he tells the same story but from different angles. So, so many things that you see are uh, quickly covered up. Like you see that the person came and meet and stayed and yelled something and then left, and it is not clear what happened. So what happened is that situation or that scene will be played in detail when the story will be told from a different character. So while the story seems to move fast, there is a depth, a richness to it because we see it from different angles. We see the perspective of other person as well, and we get to know more about each character. So there is a person Obed, and he is hanging out with Savia. So we learn more about Obed, and when the turns come to the Savia to tell the story, we learn about the Savia history, her family, and all the decisions she took, the sentences, the statement, the dialogue she was saying. We see how they were uh, created. What happened to the Savia? So he said that was she uh, exercise or she actually did something. So we see the consequences, we see the reasoning, logics because of those things. because of the history the writer tells about each character. So it was good. It was nice reading experience because every time the story ends, the story starts again. But now you have to read it from a different character, and now you see how this character was perceiving whatever was happening. So the story is about Obed, who is the son of Momina, and Momina was daughter of Zeldar, Akbar Zeldar, who was a very rich zamindar of that area of Kashmir. But when the government took over, so all his land was given to the farmers or slaves, and then he used left of money to build a business of talkies cinema, and it worked well. So there was Momina who was born out of wedlock, so she was not proper Zeldar. But his son was Obed, who used to play with Sadia, and Sadia was the daughter of Hamid Pooj, and Pooj is a family name. So Pooj are in a kind of wanted to travel through the caste and wanted to improve his standing in the society. The leader of the Pooj family was thinking that if there is a way that he can improve his standing, so he kind of connected with the government or the military there and started a business of wood. And then there is a Zeldar family, the original Zeldar. There was Tufel. So Tufel and Obed was kind of cousin, and somehow they both was attracted towards Savia in the beginning, but then Obed got obsessed with Josie, who was the sister of Tufel. So all of these things were happening, and in the background there were the military, there were boycotts, there were curfews and violence and guns and resistance, and there were a philosophy professor giving very dynamic speeches about resistance. And there was a massacre, the bridge massacre, which was mentioned, which was actually happened in the 90s. So all of these things are happening, and the book covered it all. But it does not try to focus on those things. Those things happens because the book was settled in Kashmir, and the book is telling the story of the pupil of a person in the Kashmir. But of course, all those things affected the pupil in the book. Again, we cannot argue that the author is deliberately trying to put those things, or it was of course, it was intentional. I'm not saying that it was unintentional, but how much degree uh, the author was willing to go could be subjective here, because the author has not directed the. I mean, the focus was not on the massacre and all those things. The focus was on the people who were involved in the massacre. But I guess this is the way you tell the stories to so people see. No one wants to read about, no one wants to see Titanic. No one wants to see the documentary on how the Titanic boat was sink. They want to see the love story, and there was a love story, Titanic. And similarly, people do not want to know about the bad thing that was happened. People want to know about the people who were involved in those bad things. So this is where you tell stories by adding them into the normal life, so the normal people can read it. Overall, the book was fast paced. It does not bore you because it moves fast, but it adds richness by saying the same thing from a different angle. So while it is moving fast, it is adding a layer to it. So the story or the plot or the situation seems more uh, complex and multi-directional and multi-derivative. Uh, there was a scene in the book, various scene in the book. First, we see it from the first person, then we see it from the second person POV, and then from the third person POV. So this is how we learn that whatever was happening in the book was uh, we get a 360 view. So it is a good way to narrate a story, but I think you cannot replicate it again and again because it will get bored easily. But yeah, it's a good story. There is a very long history the author dictates. It starts from father and grandfathers and then bring it to the sons and daughters and their grandson. And there's a tragedy all around. The Kashmiriyat is there. The sadness of Kashmir is there. There are suicide, there are torture, there are murders, there are violence, accident, and everything is there. All in all, I enjoyed reading the book. I completed in two sittings, in which is actually very good because I have not done it for a month or two. I have not completed any book into sitting for some time. But yeah, this book is short, this book is sound, and the character has given personalities. They have their own motivation. Every character has their own motivation and their purpose, their sense that what they wanted to do. We know what Josie wanted to do and why Josie died, and we know that things are happening. We can understand. Of course, we do not want it to those things to happen, but we can see why it is. And second thing, the protagonist is actually Kashmir in the book. So this is what I'm saying. The writer is not telling the story of Kashmir. It is telling the story of people, and those people are actually Kashmir. So the protagonist, which was Obed, it was illegitimate child, which we say about the Kashmir, not illegitimate child, but a child that was not accepted by anyone, who does not know his place in the world. Is it from India or Pakistan? There is always a struggle, and so is Obed. And similarly, like Obed played a double game, it has the military person too, and it has the uh, terrorist and resistance as well. So Obed does the same thing, and Kashmir does the same thing. There are terrorists there also, and there are military folks also. And in the end, we see Obed taking the wrong decision, like the Kashmiri do, and there is, and then we see Muzaffar, the terrorist, coming to meet, and he is welcoming him, and he is also welcoming the military person. So, I mean, if you read it, you will see the main protagonist Obed is actually the metaphor for Kashmir. And I realized it when I was trying to sleep, and it just clicked to me that the person Obed is not Obed. He is Lakshmi. He wanted something and he does not get it, and he loves something, Josie, but he was not able to get it, and someone else harmed that girl, and he has to take the blame. Like Kashmir always has to take the blame. If someone else do the wrong thing, it is the Kashmir who has to take the blame. And yeah, and there are people who like Kashmir, who want Kashmir, who are obsessed with the Kashmir, and Kashmir also hurt those people as well. I like like Obed is hurting Savia. So many things are happening in the book, and yeah, it's good if you are going to read it. Do read it. It's interesting read. It's I will not say fun, but yeah, you will not get bored, or you will not be feel like you wasted your time. Hello, bye.